In 1535, a woman hung from the church tower in Münster, Germany. A single iron hook pierced through her collarbone. She screamed for 3 days straight. By day 5, she could only whisper. On day 8, she finally died. But that's not even the worst part. That hook, the executioner's hook, was used legally across 7 European countries for over 600 years. It appeared in official law books. Executioners required licenses to use it, and every single use was documented, signed, and filed away in government archives. I'm about to reveal 3 methods of using this device that Hollywood has never shown you correctly. You'll discover why executioners called it the Whisperer, and the reason will make your skin crawl. I'll show you the one execution that was so brutal. A queen who watched it happen immediately banned the practice. And I'll reveal the final victim, a woman who died by this hook in 1866, sparking outrage so intense it changed execution laws worldwide within 48 hours. This gets darker and stranger. By the end, I'll explain how 3 of these hooks were stolen from a German museum in 2019 and never recovered. Subscribe now because you won't believe where investigators think they ended up. But first, you need to understand what medieval justice really was. Because here's what nobody tells you about medieval punishment. It wasn't chaos. It was a business. Picture this. It's 1276 in Nuremberg, Germany. You're standing in a crowd of hundreds watching a public execution. But this isn't a simple beheading. The woman on the platform is about to become one of the first documented victims of a brand new judicial tool, the executioner's hook. What you're witnessing is a revolution. For centuries, torture happened on battlefields. Chaotic, brutal, random. But in the 13th century, European courts made a calculated decision. Move torture from the battlefield into the courtroom. Make it legal. Make it official. The executioner's hook emerged as what lawyers called intermediate punishment. Too severe for criminals who deserved only whipping. Not quite severe enough for those sentenced to death. The hook was the in-between. The tool designed to inflict maximum suffering while keeping you alive. And here's the disturbing part. This wasn't some crude medieval barbarism. The hook's design shows shocking sophistication. 4 prongs, each curved at a precise angle. Executioners were licensed professionals who served apprenticeships for years. They studied human anatomy, where to insert the hook for pain without immediate death. They were proto-surgeons of suffering. Every single time a hook was used, the executioner had to file paperwork. The crime, the sentence, the duration, the outcome. Many of these documents survive today in German archives, and what they reveal is chilling. This was systematic, regulated, and considered completely normal. 3 types of hooks existed: the throat hook, the rib hook, and the suspension hook. Each served a specific legal purpose. Each had its own protocol. But before we go further, you need to understand the one thing Hollywood always gets wrong about the throat hook. Because when you realize what it actually did to the human body, you'll understand why victims couldn't even scream. Imagine standing on that platform. You're the woman convicted of theft. You've heard the rumors about the hook, but you don't really understand. The executioner approaches with 4 curved iron prongs in his hand, each about 3 in long. The crowd has paid their admission. 1 to 3 pennies per person. They're waiting, watching you. He positions the hook beneath your jaw, angled upward. Then he pulls. The 4 prongs pierce through the soft tissue under your tongue, through the floor of your mouth, and lock behind your jawbone. Then he attaches the chain. He lifts, you rise to your tiptoes. And there you'll stay for the next 4 to 6 hours. Here's what's happening inside your body. The hook isn't just causing pain. It's compressing your airway at a precise angle. Breathing becomes possible, but only barely. Every breath requires conscious effort. You can't swallow. Saliva builds up, blood pools, but you remain conscious, fully, horribly conscious. We know these exact details because of Schmidt, a Nuremberg executioner who kept a diary from 1573 to 1617. He logged 361 executions, 345 involved hooks. His entries are clinical, precise, disturbing. He describes degrees of insertion. Shallow for warnings, medium for punishment, deep for execution preparation. But here's the detail that historians buried for centuries. Schmidt's notes reveal that executioners heated the hooks first. Red hot, The prongs seared flesh as they entered, cauterizing blood vessels to prevent victims from bleeding out too quickly. This kept them alive longer. More suffering, better entertainment. And entertainment was exactly what it was. Vendors walked through crowds selling hook programs, printed schedules listing the day's punishments, the crimes, the names. Children under 12 attended free, part of their moral education. Parents brought their daughters to learn what happened to women who stole bread or spoke against the church. This is why they called it the Whisperer. After several hours suspended by jaw hooks, victims' vocal cords were so damaged, so compressed they could only whisper. Guards would lean in close to hear final confessions. Last words to family members standing in the crowd below. Schmidt recorded one woman who whispered for 47 minutes straight before she died. Her last words, "It teaches nothing," but the throat hook wasn't even the worst one. The method I'm about to show you is so brutal, one queen banned it after watching, but only in her kingdom. The rest of Europe kept using it for another 91 years. Don't click away yet, because what comes next involves 400 women and one queen's diary entry. Bamberg, Germany. The witch trials are in full swing. A woman named Anna Hansen stands accused of causing her neighbor's crops to fail through witchcraft. She was seen talking to herself near the fields. The sentence, death by rib hook. Put yourself in her position. The executioner approaches, but this hook is different. Longer, sharper. He forces you face down onto a wooden frame. You feel the iron point between your ribs, just below your shoulder blade. Then he pushes. The hook slides between your fourth and fifth ribs, angling upward into your chest cavity. It doesn't pierce your lung. Executioners trained for years to avoid that. Death would come too quickly. Instead, the hook lodges against your spine. Then they lift you. You're hanging face down, your entire body weight pulling against that single point of iron embedded in your rib cage. Every breath makes the hook shift. You feel your ribs separating from your spine with each inhale. The pain is beyond description, but you're fully conscious. Death takes 2 to 6 hours. Internal bleeding, slow suffocation under your own weight, shock eventually, but for those first hours, you're awake for every second. The Bamberg witch trials lasted from 1626 to 1631. Over 400 victims, 63% died by rib hook. That's 252 women. We have one surviving testimony from a woman whose torture was stopped before death when her accuser recanted. Her description recorded by court scribes. My ribs peeled away from my spine like fruit skin pulled from the flesh beneath. Let modern medical examiners have studied these accounts. Their conclusion, victims remained conscious for most of the duration. The hook placement avoided major arteries. Blood loss was slow. Your brain kept receiving oxygen just long enough to experience everything. But in 1755, everything changed. Maria Teresa of Austria, one of the most powerful women in Europe, decided to witness a rib hook execution. She wanted to understand the justice system she inherited. She brought her personal physician and her confessor. She watched from beginning to end. 6 hours her personal diary entry from that night, now preserved in Vienna archives. I have seen hell's machinery. God forgive us. Let within 1 week Maria Teresa banned the rib hook throughout all Habsburg territories. Modern-day Austria, Hungary, Czech Republic, parts of Italy, and Poland. Her decree cited unconscionable cruelty, unbefitting Christian mercy. But here's what's remarkable. She kept the throat hook legal until 1776. Even this powerful queen, horrified by what she'd witnessed, couldn't bring herself to eliminate all forms of hook punishment. The system was too deeply embedded in law, in culture, in the social order. Meanwhile, in Protestant German states, the rib hook remained perfectly legal. It was used 147 more documented times between 1755 and 1847. Most victims, women accused of adultery, heresy, or infanticide. But the suspension hook story is even more disturbing because it involves a woman whose execution sparked a war. And her body is still on display today because what I'm about to reveal was deliberately erased from history books for 200 years. These 3 cages have hung from St. Albert's Church in Münster, Germany since 1536. I stood beneath them last year. Tourists walk past them every day. Most don't know what they're looking at. They're looking at the final resting place of 3 Anabaptist rebels, including Hilfach. One of the only women ever executed by suspension hook, whose name we still know. The Anabaptist rebellion has taken over Münster. A radical religious sect declared the city New Jerusalem. They're waiting for the end of the world. Hillel Faken is one of the prophet's most devoted followers. A woman who recruited dozens of others to the cause. When Catholic and Protestant armies finally retake the city, she refuses to recant. Her sentence suspension hook public display on the church tower. The suspension hook is different again. It's designed to go through your shoulder just above the caliban or through your hip bone. Then you're hoisted up the S.